Guys, welcome to the I Love CVille Show. It's great to be with you on a freezing cold Thursday in Charlottesville in Central Virginia. Energy is high, guys. The emotions are pumped and jacked and ready to go. And why it is, it's because of our guest, Jerrod Smith. This guy, good people. I remember him as a one-time bruising tailback for Albemarle County High School. A man who could run between the tackles, a man who could get to the perimeter, and a man who could catch a pass from R.J. Archer and take it to the house. Now Jerrod Smith comes in. He's a grown-ass man. He comes in looking good. He's got a beautiful fiance, and he's running for Albemarle County Board of Supervisors. We're going to put Jerrod Smith in the spotlight here on the I Love CVille Show, guys. And before we do that, let's thank the sponsors that make this program possible. Greenberry's Coffee First. For 27 years, a husband and wife from Charlottesville had a dream and some sweat equity. They used a beat-up Honda Civic. They had a roasting facility in the McIntyre Office Park and their first location in Barracks Road Shopping Center. And a husband and wife said, I want to create a coffee brand. And everybody in the beginning laughed at them and said, you're going to sell $4 coffees? What the heck are you thinking? And they said, you know what? We think $4 coffees will make it in Charlottesville. Well, guess what? Greenberry's is in Qatar. They're in Japan. They're in Saudi Arabia. They're opening in Portland. They have 32 locations globally, and it started in Charlottesville. It's the kind of stories that I love to celebrate on the I Love CVille Show. Another client that I love to celebrate is Scott Wagner, Chiropractic and Sports Medicine. This dude is doing it right. People walk into Dr. Wagner's office, and they have pain. Their quality of life is suffering. They walk out of Dr. Wagner's office, and they're happy. Their bodies are taken care of. Scott Wagner and Scott Wagner Chiropractic and Sports Medicine. Who's got your back? Dr. Wagner's got your back. Harris Tolber, our director, Judah Wickhauer, our producer, Lauren Linsky, our producer. They make us and look and sound good. Harris, I think we need to go to the two-shot, and as soon as we show this guy's face on screen, the good-looking piece of this show improves and skyrockets, guys. Jerrod Smith.
Hey,
our guest. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, thank you for having me. I really mean that.
It's a pleasure. We'll set the background here. And this guy, Albemarle High School graduate.
Yep.
This guy, Charlottesville and Albemarle County man through and through. This guy, an athlete, a scholar, and most importantly, just a genuine good person that lives his life by the golden rule. And that's what I love to celebrate on the show. We will start with this question, my friend. Who is Jerrod Smith the man? What are his hobbies, his interests, his passions? He's recently engaged. Put it all in perspective for us.
All right, let's do it. So Jerrod Smith, the man. So I always go back to I'm really just a country kid. I'm as far out as you can get in Albemarle County, right next to the Orange County line. And so that's really kind of what shaped and molded me to be who I am today, right? No real outside influences. I've really got a dose of this area and what it has to offer. The people helped mold me here. The institutions helped mold me here, so it just kind of helped form that just mentality of I appreciate this area and everything that it's given to me. So went away to Bucknell University, came on back, loved the area so much, decided to go to UVA, went to the Frank Batten School, and just decided to just plant my roots here and really spread out and try to help others the best that I can. But hobbies and things like that, I mean, I'm a regular person. I really pride myself on being like the regular guy, right? I like sports. I literally love sports. Like, I'm a huge sports junkie. You can ask my fiance that from the time that, I mean, we spend an immense amount of time watching ESPN and things like that. I also love the stock market. I'm not as active as I should be, but I try to get out there whenever I can. But no, I'm just a regular guy trying to help his community, man.
I love it. I love it. Recently engaged?
Yes, recently engaged.
I don't know if you were like me. I was like, you know, I got this special lady that likes me, and she loves me, and she's willing to spend time with me, and she deals with my sports addiction, and she deals with the fact that I never sleep, and she deals with the fact that I'm neurotic as hell. I need to put a ring on this lady before she realizes what she's really getting into. Do you think you feel that way at all?
I absolutely feel that way. Do we just become stepbrothers?
Yeah.
But no, she's great. And sometimes when you see something great, you got to go for it, right? Like, I mean, hey, I don't have no complaints on that end. We got a wedding coming up in March, so pray for me. We're in like not mid planning season. We're coming across the finish line.
I remember that.
Oh man, it's crazy. A lot of sleepless nights, a lot of just saying yes and then checking the account later and being like, I said yes to that.
Right.
So, I mean, but I mean, it's all good stuff. She's a wonderful woman, so I'm lucky. So I'll take it.
I make this joke all the time, Jerrod, and we had our wedding. It's been in June. Shoot, I better not mess this up. June of 2017, okay. And June. And we went to this wedding, and I swear the only thing I picked out was the socks that I wore. Everything else at the wedding, literally, I was like you, like, yes, that's fine, whatever you want, honey, I understand, it's cool. She was doing so much of the planning and so much of the work where it was almost like a second job for her.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh my gosh. All this for the institution of marriage so we can get up. But she was happy. It was a special occasion. Talk me through what you're going through right now.
What am I going through right now? We're getting married in Durham. We just looked at rentals, flowers, all that stuff. So I'm like, I've seen enough hydrangeas for the rest of my life, you know? So, I mean, it's a lot of planning, but she's handling most of it. I just say yes and provide my feedback that's usually going to get rejected. But it's fine, man. I mean, it's an experience. So, but I will be glad when it's over.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Honeymoon Ideas?
I'm a fan of Barbados. I did like a study abroad program in Barbados while I was at Bucknell, and I just love that place. I want to go back. We have to plan it, but we have a campaign right now, so we'll try to make some time for it. But that's where I'm lobbying for. I'm not sure where she's going, where she wants to go. We'll see. I'm sure she'll win that debate.
Of course. Of course she will. He's going to win a lot of debates from a political standpoint. He's going to win a lot of debates from an office standpoint. What you get in the house, though? We ain't winning no debates, dog.
I lose at home all the time.
And that's what makes you a good man.
Hey, man.
Jerrod Smith, guys, is running for Albemarle County Board of Supervisors. I'm so excited to introduce you to him. Politics aside, like I said, he's just genuinely a very, very good person. I want to encourage everyone to like and share the stream. Let's keep the spotlight on the best of Charlottesville, on Jerrod Smith and his campaign. So if you could do us a favor, like and share. We'll thank some of the folks that are watching. Sarah Hill Buchensky, Keith Smith, Tim Ryan, John Gilmore, Grace is watching, Chris Turner is watching. A lot of people on the stream right now. Let's talk about the campaign. You, my friend, are running for Board of Supervisors.
Yep.
In the same year that you're getting married.
It's ridiculous.
Oh my, and the same year you have a job, that you've got a dog, you got everything. How are you doing this?
A lot of sleepless nights. But the timing just worked out to be that way. And it's kind of one of those things where if you don't take a shot now, you're never going to take that shot. And so I felt like with everything going on, I might as well step out there, right? If not you, then if not you, then who, right? So. And I fully live by that. And so, I mean, hey, man of many times. You got to juggle as much as you can sometimes. And so, I mean, life's never going to be easy if you're trying to do something positive. So.
Absolutely agree. So let's get into the nitty gritty. Let's talk about the platform. Let's talk about the campaign. Before we get into specifics, how about this question, more of a general question. What does Jerrod Smith stand for when it's tied to Albemarle County and Central Virginia?
All right. So this area, so you'll often hear me say that I'm as Ravenna as it gets, right? And what I mean by that is that I'm born and bred in this area. I've seen the good, I've seen the bad. And so when I say that, I don't want it to come off as like I'm preaching the negative about Charlottesville or the Albemarle County area. What I'm really saying is that I've seen the wonderful things here, and I've also seen some of the flaws. And so, as somebody that's running for office, I'm here to address and speak for the flaws in the community, as well as try to magnify the wonderful side about this area. I mean, what do we have? What are we missing here, right? Like, we have everything that we need, and we can take it to another level, and I really think that is possible.
Thank you, Keith Smith, for sharing the post. Marine Corps veteran Keith Smith, thank you for sharing. Joe Finazzo, who I believe you went to Albemarle High School
Joe,
with, right?
Sal's
Cafe Italia.
That's my guy, yeah.
Yeah, you got to say something to Joe?
Joe, what's up, Joe?
Joe Finazzo, we see you, baby.
Man?
We love some Sal's Cafe Italia on the show. He says, what up, baby?
What's
he
up?
says, what up? All right, how about some specifics here? First, We talk so much about the relationship with Albemarle County and the city of Charlottesville. We have had Mayor Walker on the program, city councilor, mayor of Charlottesville, Heather Hill, Kathy Galvin, both city councilors of Charlottesville. Interesting tidbit came up in my conversation with Mayor Walker, and she said this on camera, on set. She said she has yet to have a one-on-one conversation with a handful of Albemarle County Board of Supervisors. I found that absolutely startling that the mayor of Charlottesville has not had a one-on-one, and I'm not hating, I'm just stating, but the mayor of Charlottesville has not had a one-on-one conversation with Board of Supervisors in the county. Open-ended. First thoughts on that?
First thoughts on that? That's something that we absolutely have to fix. The area, I mean, we're one and the same, right? We depend a lot on each other, and so we have to make sure that we open those lines of communication, regardless of the differences and how we believe and how we see things. I mean, it's crucial to the success of the area. So. Yeah, they absolutely have to make that happen.
When you left, say you went to Bucknell, or when you left Charlottesville and Central Virginia and Albemarle County, would you tell folks you're from Albemarle County, or would you tell folks you're from Charlottesville?
Well, I would actually say that I'm from Barboursville. Right?
Interesting.
So and
they had no idea where that was.
Nope, they have no idea. We have good wine though. We have great wine.
Yes, you do.
But I pride myself on being from there, right? And a lot of Barboursville people, because we're like really small, tucked away, really pride ourselves on saying that we're from Barboursville. And so then I would explain a little bit more and say Charlottesville, Albemarle County. But no, I would come out and say Barboursville, and then go into detail about the area, and then say I'm right in the backyard of UVA and things like that. But no, I take pride in Barboursville, man. We've got great vineyards, we've got great venues. I always say that, like, and for anybody out there, that you're not going to see a better view of the stars, I think, arguably on the East Coast. I mean, we have very little light that's coming out that way, and I mean, the stars are incredible. So if you ever get a chance, I'm probably not going to call the police on you unless you're doing something crazy, but take a drive out one night and just take a look at the stars, man.
I love it. Good answer right there. I guess where I was going with this is, you know, so many folks that I live in Albemarle County. I live in Redfield, on 5th Street Extended.
Gotcha.
And I think that's the Samuel Miller district. And a lot of folks, when I go out of town, say visit my in-laws on Long Island, I don't say I'm from Albemarle County because they don't know where it's at. I say where I'm from Charlottesville. And where I'm going with this is Albemarle County and the city of Charlottesville, they go hand in hand.
Absolutely.
So when the city of Charlottesville is strong, Albemarle County is strong, Louisa is strong, Nelson County is strong, Orange County, Fluvanna County, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Put in perspective from your standpoint as someone who's been around the block in this area, grew up in this area, the ties of Charlottesville and Albemarle County, either from an outsider standpoint, maybe from a macro standpoint, a political standpoint. How are these two brands mingled together?
How are they mingled? Charlottesville's, I mean, it's the heart, right? I mean, it's literally the heartbeat. And so, of course, that brand recognition goes to Charlottesville, but we all know from living here and breathing here that they're all interconnected. We have people that live in the city, that work in the county, vice versa. And so it's a relationship where Charlottesville may get a little more of the brand recognition, but people in general know this area as being a great area. And so we have to do whatever we can on a political and economic side to really magnify that and make sure that this area is strong. I'd love to see Albemarle County get to the same name recognition as Charlottesville. Not in a competition, but just in general, because that's how I view Albemarle County as being that great of a place to live. But I understand that it's a mutual relationship. So, I mean, one can't live without the other, right?
Good. That's a sizzle reel. That's a highlight reel right there. That was fire right there. And you got a lot of peeps on the stream here giving you props. Anthony, I think it's Anthony Hill. He has an E in there. Anthony Hill. I got your guy right there. He says, listen to Jerrod Smith right now. Tune in to the show. This dude is making some big time moves. I'm pulling for you. Finazzo drops some chatter in the chat box, and he says, thanks for the shout out, fellas. Albemarle House High School representing. Jerrod, I am rooting and pulling for you from Joe Finazzo. I appreciate
it, man. I'll take all the positive vibes I can get.
How do you as a candidate leverage the goodwill you've built as an athlete, as a student, as someone that's given back to the community through his adolescence, through his teenage years, into manhood?
Into manhood. Oh, man, great question. But once again, I think it goes back to the people of this area, right? So the people of this area, I mean, everybody has good interactions, everybody has bad interactions, but I really feel like as someone who's always constantly seeking knowledge and looking for role models, that I found people to help kind of keep me on the right path and kind of make sure that character-wise, that I keep my character intact and that I grow into the man that I should be. And so this area has really molded me into what I am today. And so a lot of my platform, a lot of what you'll hear me talking about is opportunity, right? And so I feel like a lot of times we don't necessarily recognize that for some of the people, these opportunities aren't available. Luckily for me, that I was given an opportunity at an early age from people that believed in me. And so that kind of helped shape me. And so my goal in running for office and just being a regular citizen in Albemarle County is to, one, make sure that I let people know that there are opportunities available, and two, try to be that role model for them for the future. So. Good
answer. Sizzle reel that, baby. Dude, you're crushing already, and you're getting props from people here. You're going to have to help me with this name. Daisa Granger Pascal? Deja's giving you props right there. She said you're killing it, Jerrod. You're killing it right now. You got a number of people sharing the feed right now. Let's thank some of the folks who are watching. Sarah Hill Buczynski, I love you, lady. Jason Krigler, I love you, homie. Kate Elwood, General Manager of Citizen Burger Bar. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Judah Whitcower all over the mix here. Judah Whitcower is making us sound good as a producer on this program. Hey. Jerrod Smith, this dude, I just wanted to welcome to the show so you can get to know him. I'm not saying vote for him. I'm saying just get to know him.
No, say that. You can say I'm kidding.
I'm saying get to know him, because I think if you get to know him, you will see what I see. And I see a tremendous human being. How, for someone who is so young, and you are a young man, how old are you?
I am 29.
Okay, so you're a young man, okay? For someone who is so young, you are so humble and so, like, composed and so, like, level-headed, and it would be easy for someone who's had the academic and athletic success that you have, the personal success you have, to potentially get ahead of himself and put the cart before the horse. Do you struggle with that at all? How do you stay so composed and so mature as a 29-year-old man?
Well, I always realize that there's somebody out there that's smarter, better, stronger, faster. And so, like they always say, one more phrase that I always live by is that the smartest person in the room knows that he's not the smartest person in the room. And so I just try to, like, live that philosophy, like, throughout my life. Like, I try to take knowledge from people that are smarter than me. I don't come off as being, like, the arrogant guy, because I'm really not the arrogant guy. I'm trying to learn and better myself every day, just like everyone else, right? Like, one place that I love, like, physically and mentally, like, one place that I love is juice laundry, right? Like, we all want to get better, right? And so it's just one of those things where if you're trying to get better, then you realize that you're not the best, right? And so I'm just like everybody else in the county and in the city, just trying to work to make sure that I make myself better and that I make this area better for when I leave it.
I love it. I love it. Kate Elwood, again, thank you for watching. Zach Hendricks. Yeah, Zach Hendricks, man, in the mix. Yeah, Andrew Vaughn in the mix. Yeah. Michael Buczynski, First Heritage Mortgage in the mix. Douglas Robert Niven in the mix. Thank you for watching, Doug. I love you, Dougie. All right. We got some people that are saying, let's pick up the tempo and let's ask some nitty-gritty questions.
Gotcha.
Okay?
All right.
They want to know some current event stuff. All right, let's start. Okay, Trent, you want some tough questions? Trent's saying, Jerry, ask some real questions, okay? All right, here's a real question for you, Trent. Don't hate on me, homie. I don't know why you're hating. Here's a real question. Affordable housing. Affordable housing is in the news constantly. Charlottesville, the city of Charlottesville is a landlocked municipality with a very limited housing supply and very small square feet. Because Charlottesville has such limited housing supply, it is not only driving prices up in Charlottesville, it's driving prices up in Albemarle County, because it's the municipality closest to the city where people can move to and then commute to their jobs in the city if they have to. It's also driving up prices in the Fluvanna, Orange, Louisa, wherever you may be. Albemarle, affordable housing. Let's start open-ended first, and then we'll get into the nitty-gritty. Your thoughts?
That's fine. So affordable housing, I guess it's near and dear to my heart, right, because I'm 29. So I'm in this market just as the people, just as other people are. So I see the same things that we're all seeing. And so one thing that I'm coming into in terms of, well, one thing that I'm coming in mentally with affordable housing is how are we defining it, right? In our development zones, how are we allotting these affordable housing units? And what are we defining as affordable? Because as a 29-year-old living in Charlottesville, a house that's $800,000 may not be affordable. Right? A house that's $400,000 may not be affordable. So I think we really have to examine what kind of environment that we're looking at and how we are defining and allotting these things. And I think that's kind of where that governmental intersection comes in, right? So I feel that government sits at kind of the intersection of policy, economics, and society, right? So I don't think that government dictates one way or the other, but in my belief, I think government lays that infrastructure. So when we're talking about laying that infrastructure in something that we want to see with affordable housing, we have to have a real discussion about it. And we have to really examine how we're defining it. Once we get to that definition of how we're defining it as a county, then we can let the markets drive it and everything. And so that's where I stand on affordable housing. We have to define it. We have to figure out what we want. And we have to figure out what it looks like, right?
How do you define it? What's the definition?
I define it?
Yeah.
I mean, I would really take a look at the incomes in Charlottesville and see who can live with, right? So I also come from the lower income end of the spectrum. So I have those people in mind all the time. I say that my dad has an 8th grade education from out in Buckingham, and so. And I see people in this community that are really having a hard time finding their way. So it's hard for me to ever forget about these people, regardless of what kind of income I get in the future or regardless of where I'm at now. These people are in my heart, and I know they have to live and they have to breathe in this county. And if we don't address it from that standpoint of how can we, let's look at the low, right? Let's look at the low, let's look at the high, let's look at the middle. And where do we want to be as an economy, right? Do we want a living, breathing economy where people aren't spending more than 30% of their income on rent, or do we want to castrate people in terms of higher rent just to get into a house? Home ownership's important, right? And so it's one of those things that we have to facilitate, but we also have to look at how we're facilitating it and how we're defining it. If not, then there are going to be plenty of people that are left behind. And I want my friends and I want my people that live in this area, that are growing up in this area, to grow up, be successful, become good citizens, purchase a house, and raise their kids here, right? So a lot of times when we talk about institutions, and you'll hear like big government talk about like institutional knowledge, right? That's why we have like the oldest senators and things like that, and that's fine. We also need communal knowledge, right? So we need those people that are from here, that are going to stay here and make this area wonderful, but we also have to make this area attractive so that people are coming here as well. So it's a delicate balance. It's a complicated issue. I wish I had the specific answer, but I think the specific answer starts with defining it and how we want to see it moving forward as a county.
Great answer. That's a sizzle reel hill. You're getting a lot of props here for that answer in particular. A couple things I want to throw to you. James Watson, thank you for joining us. Austin Wyatt, thank you for joining us. Austin Wyatt joining us up in the Keswick area. Thank you for joining us. Michael Buchensky, thank you for sharing the feed. A lot of people sharing the feed. A lot of people all about that answer. In fact, you got some props here from Jake Pleasance. Jake Pleasance says, "You crushing it, homie." Jake Pleasance says, "I got your back, baby." In fact, Jake Pleasance says, "I am so proud of you, Jerrod. Your district could not have a better candidate than you."
Awesome. That's what I feel, so thank you.
Yeah, how about this question that's posted? I would encourage you to attend the Regional Housing Partnership meetings. And this is from Keith Smith. He basically wants us to talk about how affordable housing can scale throughout Central Virginia and not just Charlottesville. Mm-hmm. So much of it is focused on like the city, mm-hmm. but you know, I'm a homeowner, and I told you in Redfields, I just read in the newspaper that real estate assessments going up on average 7%. Yep. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's money out of my pocket.
It is.
And I work my tail off.
It is.
Okay, talk to me about this.
It is. And I mean, it's something that we have to examine, right? The numbers are the numbers, but I feel like we can lay the infrastructure to work with that a little bit. I wish I could solve it, right? And I have to take a closer look at the numbers and see how those numbers were contrived and what we're doing about it moving forward. I mean, it's an issue, right? I mean, where are we going to live? Where are we going to eat? Where are we going to work, right? Like, it's a real issue, and I would love to attend the meetings. I'm trying to get as much information, as much knowledge as possible. I'm 29. I'm living it. I'm breathing it. You know, like we are on the housing market. You know, like I'm literally on the housing market. So I'm seeing it. I'm seeing all these things. And I know that I may or may not be in a little bit of a better situation than anybody else, but that's not where I'm coming from. I just want to make sure that you have the opportunity to have to live the life that you would like to live.
That was so good. Ray Cadell, thank you for sharing the feed. I appreciate you, Ray Cadell. Like and share the feed, guys. Let's keep the positive spotlight here on Jerrod Smith and the best of Charlottesville, Virginia, which I think he encompasses. Your boy Zach says, I don't have a specific question for Jerrod, but I just want you to tell him that he's doing a great job. Thanks, and I'm a huge supporter for him, and he could be the guy, should be the guy that should win this election. You get some peeps coming out right now.
I appreciate it. I appreciate all the positive vibes, man. I mean, the people, I'm probably probably going to say this 3 or 4 more times, but it's really the people that make me go, right? Like I've just, this area has just given so much to me, and you pull from the people. Like, I mean, I lived through their experiences. I lived through them, right? Everyone's had a hand in shaping and molding at some point, whether good or bad. But I mean, it's the people.
I want to put this into perspective. And you showed some vulnerability when talking about your past and how you grew up. You said, A, that you grew up in kind of a low-income situation. B, you said that your father has an 8th grade education. Your dad today has got to look at you as like, man, I am so proud of my son. I mean, Bucknell, Frank Batten Institute. Frank Batten Institute is so baller.
Thanks, man. We're on the come up. Watch out for it.
Yeah, you are so baller. Engaged to a beautiful, intelligent woman. Running for Board of Supervisors.
I know, man.
What's your dad tell you? I
mean, my dad's proud regardless, right? So this whole political world, he doesn't really understand. But, I mean, he came out to my announcement speech, and, I mean, he just is really supportive of whatever. I could say, Dad, I'm about to go do X, Y, Z, and he'll be in my corner. So, I mean, the smile from him makes it worth it. I mean, we've had our rough patches as well, but I mean,
any
father, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's taken work to repair that relationship, but even through the good and the bad times, I mean, he's always been there smiling for me. So I'll take a smile when I get it.
Very good. So what are some of the challenges you think? And we've already filled 30 minutes.
Man, that's crazy.
So what are the challenges that you see? I'm going to outline some challenges, okay? And I'm going to see how you respond. I think one of the challenges that you got to overcome is potentially the youth. Being a 29-year-old, I think how you're positioning answers to those people that are going to say, hey, he's 29, your response is money. You're like, yeah, I'm 29, and guess what? I'm dealing with the topics right now that are in the news cycle that we're all struggling with as a 29-year-old. Affordable housing hits close to home to me because I'm dealing with the affordable housing issue. So that's genius, okay? What do you say to the folks out there that say, 29, can he lead a district?
Can I lead a district? Well, one, we have to start somewhere. And so I definitely lean toward that on the youth side. And then two, I'm no stranger to learning, right? So as I mentioned before, that communal knowledge, we need that here as well. And I understand that there's a large population that's older than me, and that's fine. It's nothing against them. I actually want to make sure that we can increase the quality of life here for everyone, right? So I'm all about moving the entire economic pie and quality of life pie forward. So it's not taking from one, giving to the other. I really think that there's a way that we can push everything forward so that everyone has a better life here in Charlottesville. I'm all about community. I'm all about opportunity. And so I'm really trying to push the needle forward and improve the quality of life for everyone.
Good answer right there. Like and share the feed, guys. Like and share this stream here. I appreciate you guys already doing it. A lot of shares happening. Like and share the stream. Let's put the spotlight on the best of Charlottesville, Virginia. What I'm trying to do with this forum is I'm trying to introduce you to a candidate that is running for a very important office this year. All I'm trying to do is use this forum so you can meet this person and what his values and what he stands for. A lot of questions coming in about statues, about parks. Obviously, we've had A12, August 12th. I mean, it's something that we are forever going to live with. Our kids are going to be reading about this in U.S. history at Albemarle High School, Monticello High School, wherever it may be. I got to ask the question here. Your thoughts on all the things that are happening with the statues, the Confederate statues, with rebranding, the attempts to rebrand Preston Avenue, maybe changing the names of parks like Lee Park. Your thoughts on all this?
All right. So first of all, August 12th was a terrible event all the way around. And as an area, we can either choose to let that event define us, or we can move forward in a better way. So I typically look on the optimistic side of things in terms of moving forward. And so that's one of the motivations for me trying to run for office, is that I want to help rebuild this area and get that and get that perception back that this area is good. I mean, I live in a rural area, right? And so what I mean by that is that, so I often think of, like, imagine a corner store, right? So where I'm at, I've got a corner store. And this is kind of how I view my politics and my interactions with people. When you go to the corner store out where I'm at, you never know what you're going to see. You could see, and you encounter all different kinds of people. But at the end of the day, people want to go to that store. They want to get what they need. If you need some help, they want to help you, and they just want to have a positive interaction. And so that's what we have to build here, is we have to rebuild those positive interactions. Now, we've had a black guy, and I don't agree with those things, and I don't agree with the event that happened today. And that's just something that, it was bad.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no other way to put it, right?
Yeah.
You can say bad a million different ways, but it's a bad event.
Yeah.
But we have to rebuild, and we have to move forward. If we don't move forward, then we're just going to have a black eye. We're going to lose a lot of resources, and we're going to lose a lot of good people. We've got to work on repairing that relationship. And so and building that back up, I mean, there are a bunch of different things. So that's what I'm here for.
James Watson, thank you for sharing the feed, guys. Constance Wyatt, thank you for joining us on the program. A lot of people watching right now, guys. Let's thank the people for watching. Finazzo and Hendricks still watching. I appreciate you guys. So does this man right here for your support.
Yes,
Ray Cadell, get involved here if you have a topic. Stanley Speed Sr. Is that someone? You got some friends,
sweet.
dude.
Yeah, man. Good people.
All he says is
Good
frat.
people. Yep, that's my frat brother. Yeah, that's my frat
Stanley,
brother.
if you got a question, put it in the chat box. Let's ask here. All right, I gotta follow up and ask more specifics
Go ahead,
here.
go for it.
So are you of the mindset that, look, 8/12 happened, and the only way for us to move on from 8/12 is to embrace the history, talk about the history, and then move on from the history? Talk to me your thoughts.
I think that we have to.
This hits close to home.
It is,
Yeah.
and that's why it's a sensitive topic, and it's a sensitive topic for everyone. But in terms of 8/12, in terms of embracing the history, I think we should. I mean, we know that it happened, right? Like in Texas, they're rewriting textbooks to take slavery out. So we have to acknowledge the bad with the good, but we don't have to praise the bad. And so that's kind of where I stand with that. I mean, we don't have. I mean, the statues and things like that. I mean, I know it's a state's issue, so there's not too much we can do. We can do with it. So, but what I'm saying is that we don't have to praise the bad. I mean, and you could. And so that's just where I come from, right? Like, we can acknowledge it because you can't have the good without the bad, but we don't need to praise it and things like that.
What do you think is Albemarle County's role here?
Albemarle County's role? I mean, we're one area, right? So, I mean, part of this rebranding and part of moving forward, we're going to have a hand in it. And trauma is real, right? So and the messages are real. So I'll just share, since we're being personal, I'll just give you guys like a real personal story.
And one thing here, we'll get you.
I got
sit back
you.
a little bit here on the mic, because I want people to hear what you're saying.
All right, so I'll give you guys a personal story about trauma.
We sound good, Harris? Okay, good.
We're good?
Yeah.
On trauma and messages, right? So as a kid, I had to be in like 3rd, 4th grade, right? Late NBC 20 special comes on, and there was this extremist group, and they had like this song that was playing that was like horrible, like horrible. That as a kid, like, really stuck with me and messed me up for like a good like 3 or 4 months.
It's like PTSD.
PTSD.
Yeah.
And I went to a child psychologist. Luckily, our school, Stony Point, had one at the time that kind of helped me work through those issues. But this trauma is real, and we can't ignore it. We have to look at the younger generation, for the people that are here. Like, that's real trauma. And so we have to move forward and help everybody the best that we can, and bring this area up, because those things are real. They're going to stick with these kids. Kids had to live through this, and they don't even understand everything. I mean, it's hard for the adults as well too, but trauma is real, and that was real trauma induced on this area, and we have to move forward.
Yeah, I agree. So here's how I initially stood, and I've talked about this on the show a lot, is initially my take was, look, these statues, even if we remove them, we're not going to be able to change the ugly history of Civil War and of slavery. Just because we take statues out of the mix, this still existed. So why would we remove the statues? And then, because I think as adults and as men and as women that are intelligent, we evolve with our thinking. And then I saw 8/12 happen. I was here. And I was literally right here outside my building watching it. I saw evil that I've never seen in my entire life.
That's literally evil. That's what I'm saying.
Right, like the devil. Okay? And where I'm going with this is, after seeing that evil and after seeing the devil firsthand, then I'm like, okay, look, we need to move on. And how we're going to move on is by perhaps putting these statues not in parks, but putting these statues in museums. Maybe it's more tied to a museum where it's talking about history, as opposed to a public park where it's more celebrated. That's how I feel. I feel like for us to have, I don't think we'll ever truly have closure, and I'm going to throw it to you in a second. I don't think we'll ever truly have closure, and not having closure is probably a good thing, because it shows that the community and society is still committed to getting better. But where I'm going with this is, maybe the first step for moving on and healing is the repurpose of these statues from a park and celebrated setting like you're talking about to a museum type setting. Your thoughts?
I would be fine with that. I would be fine with that. If there's a dedicated space for them, then there's a dedicated space for them. And unfortunately, that's out of local government's hands, you know?
Right.
But yeah, I agree with that. I mean, something's got to be done. We can't continue to celebrate, right? Like the ugly history is there and it's brought to the, I mean, it's always existed there. So it's not like this is brand new, but I mean, the ugly, evil history is there, right? I mean, we've got to move.
It's an interesting crossroads for you as a leader, one, as an African American, two, and as someone that's running for a board of supervisors position, one of the most important spots in the county you are running for. I mean, you're at like a crossroads of so many different things.
Exactly.
Like, how do you even like balance or like the dynamic or like, you know, figure it out?
Yeah, no, and it's a complicated issue, right? I mean, the history and the things that happen aren't complicated.
Right.
But
where you're at.
But where I'm at now, it's a complicated issue and it's a balancing act, right? And we have to move forward. But at the same time, we have to have representatives in place that are willing to take on these issues and look at it from both sides of the coin. If you only have one side dominating it, then your voice gets lost in the discussion. And I'm willing to be a voice at the table to progress that conversation forward and work on the issue, not just the statues, but the issues that stem from that era that are still here, right? Like we've got issues. We've got issues of inequality, and I mean we've got issues of just in general running through this county, and so we have to we have to address it and we have to move forward. And I mean, progress is progress, right?
Yeah,
so.
Well said. Very well said. Anja Andalek, thank you for watching. She's the owner of Fig Bistro on the UVA corner. She's an entrepreneur, a fabulous person.
Love it.
Go check her out.
Love the entrepreneurs.
I know you do. A lot I want to cover here. How about we had Adam Healy, who's the interim director of the Charlottesville Albemarle Convention and Visitors Bureau.
Okay.
And he was on the show. He had very, I think, straightforward, perhaps critical comments of Mayor Walker and the quotes that she said in the New York Times, where she was saying that Charlottesville is a beautiful place, but it's an ugly in the soul kind of place. And he used those quotes as saying, look, that's when you have the New York Times, the world's greatest newspaper, and you have an opportunity to position Charlottesville in a positive spotlight, perhaps you should use that forum to talk about the positive Charlottesville. And that's what tourism does. That's what his department does. Where I'm going with this is, Ann Malik had issue with the campaign that the CACVB was putting together because it only featured Charlottesville and really didn't have any mention of Albemarle County. As a branding and advertising agency owner, I understand why the CACVB is branding Charlottesville, because tourists who are not in this area, they may not even know that once you cross this invisible line, you're not in Charlottesville anymore, you're in Albemarle County. It's such a weird situation. Start open-ended with you, sir. The brand for the area. Your thoughts on what it should and should not include?
Okay. So I think that the brand of the area should include Albemarle County. I mean, we are essentially one and the same, and so we want to bring as much attention to the area as we can. If we have a truly mutually beneficial relationship, then the county has to have a role in that. And so I would agree with that. And plus, I'm running for office in the county. I'm for the county, so I'm all about that county. In terms of Mayor Walker's comments to the New York Times.
You saw those?
No, you just told me.
Okay.
You just told me. But I just kind of want to address the Adam Healy piece of it, is that no matter how, we also don't want to give a false narrative. We have issues and we have people that are hurting. And so if Mayor Walker decides to use that platform to address that side of it, then that's what she chose to do. I mean, the issues are real. Just because you don't talk about them doesn't make them real.
That's fair.
And so that's kind of where I kind of see that going. I mean, she could have taken it. However, she's her own person. You know, she's an individual, extremely smart, extremely capable. She could have taken it wherever, and she chose a chance to shed light on something that's near and dear to her heart. And so, at the end of the day, this area is going to be this area. We've got our positives, but when we're talking about the role of public officials in government, It's not to sell. I mean, it's not to sell a fake story. It's to work on real issues, and sometimes you can't work on real issues until they're addressed.
Interesting. Let's play devil's advocate with you. That was a good answer. Devil's advocate piece is, for the sake of the show, it's a talk show. The devil's advocate piece is that the mayor is the most recognized person in the community, and I think she truly, truly, truly loves Charlottesville. And Brian Kennedy just said you had a great response there.
Thanks.
And I think she truly does love Charlottesville. This is the devil's advocate side, that when you're the mayor, you're trying to represent the area in a macro standpoint, in totality, and that talking about issues that could be more micro than macro doesn't do the area justice in its totality, which the mayor is responsible for the entire community. And that's why I think she's getting grief from some folks. Thoughts on that?
Thoughts on that? I think that at the end of the day, there is no cookie cutter public official, right? And so sometimes we need somebody to move the conversation forward. Just because we have issues doesn't mean that we don't have things that make you say, I love Charlottesville and I love the Charlottesville-Albemarle area. It's just saying that, hey, we've got some things that we need to work on too. And I think that's part of like self-reflection and getting better. Until we self-reflect and really say like, hey, we've got some issues and we have some inequality here, and we want to move this conversation and move these things forward, sometimes we can't go forward. And so it's all on really how the individual takes it. But just because saying that we have work to do doesn't mean that that we don't have positive things as well.
Good answer. Good answer right there. I appreciate his honesty. You're getting a lot of props for that answer right there. We have a number of questions that I'm going to get to, guys. I'm going to get to your questions here. Thank you for asking them. Put the questions in the chat box, and I'm happy to relay them to them. Jason Krigler, thank you for sharing the stream. Like and share this stream. Ron Gantz, thank you for getting involved here in the program as well. You have a lot of friends, sir.
Thanks. That's good.
Yeah. Let me throw this to you. The revenue sharing between Albemarle County and the city of Charlottesville. Albemarle County kicks the city of Charlottesville a hell of a lot of money. What are your thoughts on the revenue sharing agreement? What are your thoughts on the dynamic of city of Charlottesville and Albemarle County? A good example of this, a small microcosm of this, is Rick Randolph, one of the Albemarle County Board of Supervisors. When we were talking about having the courts either in Albemarle County, the court system, or downtown, eventually the court system was settled to be downtown, which I thought was the best approach. He made a comment to the press on record saying Charlottesville has a long history of not keeping its promises with Albemarle County. And Rick Randolph said it, I'm paraphrasing for him, but it's an accurate paraphrase. He said, I am concerned that the city of Charlottesville will not keep its promise with maintaining parking downtown for county residents to easily use and walk to the court system. Let's just talk about the dynamic and the relationship with the county and Charlottesville before we get into specifics, sir.
Okay. Well, first of all, we kind of let off the interview by saying that that relationship, we've got to work on it, right? Like, we've got to sit down, we got to have a dialogue, and we have to work on it. I mean, that is a complicated issue, right? Things are set in stone, and agreements have been made. So, I mean, it starts with a dialogue, and we have to work together. I mean, I'm all about cooperation, so I don't think that any issue between the city and the county we can't come to a consensus that's mutually beneficial. And part of my role in sitting at that table is making sure that we come to one. So
your platform is open ears, open mind. Let's consider everything. Sports background. Let's use a team, the concept of team, to work together for a common goal, which is exactly what you, RJ, Andy, Rick Verhoevac were doing in Albemarle High School, working to a team on the gridiron in a very tough Commonwealth district, I might add. Oftentimes, you guys were undersized and undermanned against a lot of teams. That's safe.
Literally.
Isn't that safe?
No, that's completely fair. We were not playing against everyone. It wasn't a level playing field.
How do you use your team mindset with your platform, your campaign, and if you win, how is that going to integrate into your role as a supervisor?
Great. No, and so any athlete will tell you that plays on a team sport will tell you that so we have our guys, right? Like, in this situation, I mean, it could be girls, but I'm just saying, for me, it was my guys, right? We have our guys, and we're gonna do the best that we can. We prepare the best. We go out there and we try to execute the best, regardless of the size of the task. And so that's the approach you really have to take working on a board, right? Because it's not just me making decisions,
right?
Is that let's get it together. let's do our best to tackle an issue and we come to a problem. So it's really taking that mindset of, and for Albemarle and my Albemarle fans, well, my Albemarle people from back in the day will understand what it's like to play in that Commonwealth. Like you said, we know we're undersized and we know we're undermanned, but we're still going to give our best effort. And so I'm really bringing that mentality here. Like, hey, let's work together. Let's use our resources. Let's use our intellect. Let's put forth good policy to try to take down some of these giant issues that we have in the economy.
Good answer. Good answer. Alexis Shaquan Smith says, I am so proud of you,
thanks,
Jerrod
Lex.
Smith. And she's liking and sharing the feed. Like and share this stream, guys. I certainly would appreciate if you did that. A lot of people in the mix right now. Thank you, Ron. Thank you, Keith. Thank you, Rob Lawson, Rick Henderson, Michael Jameson, Jeremy Stanwyck, Jonathan Colasso, Dan Barnes, Meg Taylor, John Gilbert, Kevin Arrington. It goes on and on and on. Like and share the stream, guys. We're talking about the best of Charlottesville, Virginia here. You filled 45 minutes and you're crushing and it's felt like 5. Let's talk about some other key tenets or key items on your campaign and your platform that you want to get out there.
Great. So, and I kind of led off with my announcement speech saying that I think that the county has a chance to lay what I'm calling the dream infrastructure, right? And so it really takes a look at like kind of a two-headed monster, but they're equal. And one is, well, the first part is, I'll just talk about the economic side right now, because people don't like to talk about the economics, so I'll give it to you now. But one is the connectivity. We have to make sure that our rural areas are connected. If we're not connected to the world, we won't succeed, right? Like those seconds that we spend lagging, like they add up to an immense amount of time. The second part of that is the business. I would love to see a business-friendly environment, right? Just to foster development. And so people will often say, like, my view of development is a holistic view. And so I feel that if we can bring more business, if we can create more jobs, even if it's an entrepreneur creating a couple of new businesses, right? Yeah. That's more money that's being spent in the economy, and it's going around and around. We have to work on keeping our dollars here in Charlottesville and Albemarle County. And so when I say the business-friendly environment, I'm just trying to make sure that we take a look. I can't make you any promises, right? I'm not going to sit up here and lie and tell you that I'm going to like cut the tax rate by 85% and things like that. Like, I'm not going to lie to you. But what I will say is that I will really take a diligent eye and examine our environment and see what ways we can help our entrepreneurs and help our businesses succeed so that they can create more jobs and allow and employ more people, right? Like, at the end of the day, people still have to live, they still have to work, they still have to eat. And so if I can help that environment out, I will certainly help that out. On the educational side of it, technology in the classroom, right? We have to make sure that our kids have everything that they need to succeed. I'm also huge on K-Tech. I feel that our trade schools they're essential they're the backbone of the economy, right? I mean, they're who you call when your lights go out or when your water doesn't work. But I also think there's an opportunity there to kind of revamp those and make sure that we have adequate funding, right? Like, let's explore solidifying a coding program, right? Or if we're talking about climate change, let's take a look at, could we possibly explore adding a solar piece to the K-Tech, to our K-Tech schools, to really generate the jobs and generate the businesses that'll allow us to really set the standard for a rural county in terms of like climate change and things of that nature. If we're going to get serious about it, we have to get serious about those and really make sure that we're funding those. So I feel like if you mix the right educational, if you mix the educational with the economics in this environment, you can essentially get the dream infrastructure, which gets to kind of my overarching theme, which is allowing people to have the opportunity to live the life that they want to live, you know? If you choose to, everybody's not going to be a millionaire. It's a hard life lesson. Everyone's not going to be a millionaire. But what I can do is that if you want a certain way of life, I can try to make sure that that opportunity is here for you or here for your kids if that's not the case.
Dude, that was amazing. You're getting props right now.
Thanks, man.
Jason Krigler says, I am so proud of Jerrod Smith. It's great to hear him on the show. It's great to hear his platform and forum. And he just said I was going to ask him his main goals for the BOS, but it sounds like he's addressing that now. And let's turn his answer into a sizzle reel because I thought it was money. Kevin Arrington, thank you for liking and sharing the stream. Your boy, Corey Klingel. I think he's an Albemarle High School guy. Corey and Garrett.
Yeah.
Corey, thank you for liking and getting involved with this program. Sean Sweeney, Brian Kennedy, thank you for liking and getting involved in the program. K-Tech is getting you a lot of feedback here. Keith Smith posting the link to K-Tech in the chat. Talk to me about K-Tech.
I mean, I'm big on it, right? And so I feel like when I was in, and it's one of those things where if you've gone through the school system, you kind of know like what I'm talking about. But there's kind of a negative connotation around it amongst kids, right? As in terms of it being like, oh, you're not going to go to college, like you're going to go over to K-Tech and do this and that. And we really have to work on breaking that stigma down.
Right.
You know?
In a lot of ways, and I don't mean to interrupt you, in a lot of ways,
go for it.
the folks that are going through K-Tech and going into jobs right away are smarter in some ways than the folks that are going to college because they ain't leaving with student debt and they're getting paid good money from day one 100%. As opposed to having to climb the ranks.
100% agree. And so we really
and
have.
You know that coming from Bucknell.
Hey, look, I understand it, man. Like,
but you got Scally, didn't you?
I did. But
you know what we're talking about.
The time I spent not making money in school, I could have been making money.
Opportunity cost.
Opportunity cost. Absolutely right.
You're a smart dude.
So that's why I'm big on those, right? Like I know that they're economic pathways to success, right? And if you want to take those in an entrepreneurial standpoint, you can do that. You can branch off and freelance and do your work and go other places and travel. Now stay here and live here. But if you want to do that, you can do that as well. So I'm huge on those, man. Like, I mean, they're the backbone of the society, right? And like with those, it's like, I mean, our tourism, like we understand we get a lot of revenue from that, but that's also subject to the economy. Our backbone, if we can make that consistent and get that right, then we can have a shot at progressing the entire economic pie forward and not being so dominated on the extremes.
That was a good answer. Let me throw this to you here. It seems to me, and we have a ton of business owners watching right now. Guys, like and share the stream. Like and share the stream. If you're watching this show and you're an entrepreneur or business owner, I've got to think that you are liking what this man is saying because a lot of the tenets or key aspects of his campaign, economic growth, keeping the money in the community, making it a business-friendly environment, helping folks create companies in the county to keep the revenue in the county here. I like that. I'm an entrepreneur.
That's why I love. I've seen you grow. Like you said earlier, we've been doing this.
Tell them how we met,
man. I mean, I don't even remember how we met. I know it had to be around sports, but I know we've been kicking it for a while.
And if it's not something you want to go, tell me. One of the toughest stories I wrote. Okay, tell me about that.
All right, so.
We don't have to do this if we don't.
No. It's fine. It's fine. No better way to kind of tell the story than on here, right? So, 2007, got a scholar, and so for people listening, it's not exactly the most rosiest like pie in the sky, like everything's
but it's real.
Great. It's a real story. I mean, I can't make it up. So we had just gotten, we were on a scholarship trip. To Bucknell. I got a football scholarship. I used to be able to play a little bit back in the day.
You were with Rod Jackson?
I was with my good friend Rod Jackson. And we were coming back after just getting our scholarship offers, and we got in a car accident, and both of our moms died in the accident. And so from there, right, it's kind of like we were essentially born in the fire, man. Like we're out here living life as an adult. And so it's funny that when you say the like 29-year-old thing, like I've been seeing this thing for a while, right? So as a kid, you don't understand. You spend money. As you get older, you understand like, hey, my dollar means something. As you get older and you're trying to find a job, you're like, man, like what is really going on in the Charlottesville area? And then you're like, man, I love the entrepreneur. So it's all developed at an earlier stage than I would have liked. But I mean, I wouldn't have it any other way, you know? So
you're saying you had to grow up faster.
I had to absolutely grow up faster. So
you understand the value of a dollar because he had to grow up faster. And when you went through that and I had a chance to write the story of the Daily Progress, I was like, this dude is like a man beyond his years. And he was like so like composed and strong and level-headed. And I know you were hurting, but you were like, I felt like you almost felt like you had to be like the rock and like the strong, silent, like I can do this for everybody else.
And that's exactly, honestly, that moment is exactly what kind of formed my mentality and how I like view everything. It was like, hey, I've got to like calm it down, be good, like do the right things, be strong so that everyone else around me can be strong because the community was hurting at that time.
Big time.
I mean, that was a like traumatic thing for this community. I mean, both of our mothers were like beloved in the community, you know, we built relationships. We were athletes kind of at that high, right? So, I mean, it was just one of those things where I just decided to turn, like, I've got to be that rock, man.
Crossroads?
Yeah, literally. You got to be that rock or either just fade off into the distance. And so, I mean, that's just the way it went.
She looking down on you now from having undoubtedly, God, she's got to be so proud of you.
Nah, man, I hope so.
I mean, you know she is.
Yeah, I hope, man.
Do you feel her?
Oh, man, all the time, man. Like, anytime I've got, like, a big interview or anytime I'm even, like, just the stars, I'll look up in the stars. Like I said, in Barracks Road, you can see them, like, clear. Like, I'll come home and I'll just, like, look up and I'll be like, all right, I got it, you know? Like, hey, I'm getting married. Hey, I'm about to run for office. Like, I know you're there, you know?
Help
like,
me.
Help.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man.
Dude, you are a rock star. How about Rod Jackson? How's my boy? Rod
Rod's
Jackson,
doing well,
I've never
man.
seen a jump shot he didn't like.
Nah, man, not at all. That's why Rod and I couldn't coexist as AAU teammates because he shoots the ball too much.
How about a Rod Jackson, Robert Gray, Mike Brown backcourt?
Hey, man,
there was not enough passes, not enough balls to go around.
Not enough, man, not enough. They were a monster over there, though. They were a monster. But Albemarle was a little bit better at basketball, but, I mean, we're not going to.
How's he doing?
Rod's doing great, man. He's got a little daughter, my little goddaughter, Realty. She's awesome, man. Rod's got his own little business, Sharlto Dog, well, not little business, Sharlto Dog Barkery, you know. So, nah, he's doing well, man.
When you see him, give him props for me.
Got you.
We have, you filled almost an hour here, and people giving you some big-time props. Ooh, a lot of questions. Hey, Robert Gray. We're just talking about you, Robert
What's
Gray.
up?
Robert Gray, you know I love you.
Literally.
Robert Gray, remember when we were
good.
talking on social media with the Mike Brown and Rod Jackson backcourt, and I was like, Robert Gray, take the ball off the dribble and go to the rack. Why are all these guys shooting jump shots from bonus sphere here?
Literally.
Jay Wyan, thank you for watching. Tyler Berry, thank you for watching. There's multiple questions for you.
Go for it.
Stanley Speed Sr., okay? For Jerrod, as a young African-American, where do you see the need or the greatest need for the community? Because one person can't do it all, but I believe focusing on specific tasks and doing that well is a major component of being successful. Good question. Your thoughts, sir?
Great question. So, all right, so I guess I'll start by saying that, and once again, I'm big on the opportunity. So I feel that young African-American kids need to see different professions. They need to see different role models in the community, right? So we have to strengthen that. I mean, once you see something and you latch onto it, that's just what it is, right? Like there's a kid out here now, and I'm making this kid up because I know he exists, because I was that kid at one point that wants to be an NFL player or wants to go to the NBA. But really, if that kid was exposed to a hedge fund manager, he might want to run his own hedge fund. So I feel like role models and exposing our kids to these different opportunities that are available to them in the community and in the world are really how we change that mindset. Everyone's not going to go pro. And I know that's what we see all the time because sometimes that's what society shows us.
Yeah, glorifies.
Yeah, that's what they glorify.
And they don't glorify the managing director at the hedge fund that's making $200, that's taking care of their family, that's doing things the right way. They glorify the basketball player that is like obviously making bank and can throw the ball down. So you must feel such like macro pressure. And I know you're a competitive guy. You want to win in everything you do. So you probably are your harshest critic. Just
Absolutely.
because, me too.
Absolutely.
Where I'm going with the macro pressure is not only are you doing this to benefit Albemarle County, it seems from a macro standpoint, you're benefiting this because you see a need for African-American folks to be in a leadership position so the next generation can say, look, it's not just about a basketball, football, or whatever it may be. Jerrod Smith is the Albemarle County supervisor of my district. Why can't I be that?
That's it, and that's exactly what I'm going, and that's a driving force to what I'm doing it for, right? Is the breakdown of maybe a few barriers, right? Set that example to say, hey, maybe you guys can do this route, so that there's another African American kid who used to ride his bike out in the country or run around barefoot that's saying like, hey, I can do that. I don't have to do X, Y, and Z. Role models are important, opportunity is important, exposure is important. And so I'm trying to do as much as I can to give back to that community.
Good answer. Sizzle reel, homie. Sizzle reel, Harris. That was so money. A lot of more questions coming in. Stanley Speed Sr. said, outstanding answer. Spot on. Thank you for contributing to the show, Stanley. What's the pressure like for you?
What's the pressure? Honestly, I believe everything that I say. I believe in bettering the community, and I believe in moving it forward. So it's not so much, there's a little pressure navigating this political game on who do you talk to and things like that. But I really place more of the pressure on myself to make sure that I always tell myself, and I always encourage, and I preach to my little cousins all the time, like, Shout out to Isaiah and Trayvon, all of them. They're in college doing great things. But I preach to them all the time.
Little cousins in college.
Yeah, man.
Man, we're getting old.
Trayvon plays football and baseball for Glenville State, and Isaiah plays football for Fairmont State.
Man, you guys got awesome athletes in your blood, dude.
Hey, man, I don't know what.
Jacked right
it's
now.
in the water. It's in the water.
In
man.
Barbersville?
Water.
I didn't mean to interrupt you, though. You were deep in thought, and I got ADD
No,
on you.
You're good. But what I'm saying is that I always tell them that in whatever they do to be impressive, and so sometimes when I'm telling myself to like be impressive, it's that's the added pressure. But I mean, if I'm putting more pressure on me, then there's no more outside pressure.
Yeah,
so.
I totally agree. I feel the same way. I feel like I don't even feel pressure because the person that's putting the most pressure on himself is me, and I feel that pressure, and I love that pressure. Yep. Because when we're putting pressure on ourselves, it's motivations for us to be better versions of ourselves, and that's what this guy epitomizes. Mickey Banks, good people. Glad to hear your views on everything. Jerrod Smith, always have been a good motivational speaker, and I would love to see what you could do for Albemarle County and the difference you can make. Mickey Banks says you have his vote.
Awesome, man. Awesome. I appreciate it. And yeah, if once I get in here, we'll make some noise.
Let me throw this to you. All of Charlottesville City Council, except for Mayor Walker, she's an independent. All of City Council is Democrat. All Albemarle County Board of Supervisors, Democrats. Your thoughts on the need, or maybe we don't have this need, but your thoughts on having a two-party, maybe a three-party system that offers legitimate candidates that can get into office. With Albemarle County, it has leaned more conservative in the past. The city of Charlottesville always leads Democratic. Now the Board of Supervisors in Albemarle County is all Democrats. Do we have a need for a two-party system, a three-party system? What are your thoughts on this?
I think on the... Let me see. All right. So on the larger scale, of course we need more. It would be great to have more parties, right? Because everyone's not into a specific. Everyone's not
different viewpoints.
Yeah, it's a fact of life. But as long as we have the diversity of thought there, and a diversity of, I think diversity of thought is important in any realm where you're making policy decisions that affect other people or that affect the entire community. As long as we have that diversity of thought, I think that that we can succeed. So the diversity of thought is more important to me than figuring out the seats on the board and who's what. You know?
I like it. Caitlin Mancini, thank you for watching this program. Jay Wyant, thank you for watching this program. Robert Gray still all over the feed. Rob Gray, I love you, Rob Gray.
Rob's
you have an
awesome,
invite
man.
anytime you want. Open seat, Rob Gray. You're a deep thinker. I would love to have you on the show, Rob Gray.
He's good people.
He is good people. I want to wind down the program because I know you're on the clock. Thank you for joining us, Mike Shaver, by giving the show and our massive audience an opportunity to further get to know you.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
One of the things I've got to ask you is from a personal standpoint, and my wife is watching right now, and she knows I have some aspirations of getting involved civically. This community, in the almost 19 years I've been here, it's been so good to me and so good to my family and my business, and I feel compelled to offer the God-given abilities I have, and I mean this not in a talking braggart type of way, but it's the same God-given abilities he has. We have the gift of human connection. We have the gift of being confident, and that confidence takes us places that other people are not willing to go because we believe in ourselves. We have the gift of being able to see a couple steps ahead and understanding strategy, whether it's at the civic level, the regional level, the national level, whatever it may be. We understand things, and you totally do. Where I'm going with this is I have some aspirations perhaps of running for the 5th district.
Cool.
And my wife is terrified of that. And she is my biggest supporter. I love you, sweetheart. I know you're watching right now. Yep. And we have a 10-month-old. So she's like, how the heck are we going to do this with the 10? Totally get it. Totally get it.
I mean, it makes sense.
How about your fiance?
My fiance is super supportive, but we don't have kids right now.
Yeah. You're in a different spot. Wait till you do. Don't get pregnant on your honeymoon. My wife and I did.
Man, I know. But I mean, it's a balancing act, right? And so I tell my fiance Laura all the time. I'm like, hey, if at any point you can't handle me doing something, let me know. We can address it. But at the same time, and I'm sure your wife's the same, if you want something, she's gonna help push you toward it, unless it's super crazy, But as long as it's reachable and it's making you better and you're better in the community and something that you want to do, she pushes you. And so I found my push, you've got your push, and so it'll be all right.
Good question. Your thoughts long term?
Long term, I mean,
I mean, you're a competitive guy. Okay, I don't want to speak for you. Okay, you're educated, you're eloquent, you're charismatic, you're confident, you're a conversationalist. You can connect with people. You're a leader. You look the part. You know, clean cut, look the part. I feel like the world's your freaking oyster here. I mean, is this a stepping stone for bigger things?
I don't know just yet. I mean, I could very well, if I get elected, be board of supervisors for 40 years, right? Like, I could just love it that much. So I don't really know, and I really am not trying to look like super ahead to the future. I'm more so trying to keep that under control and focus here. But, I mean, who knows, man? Who knows?
Anything can happen.
Anything.
That was a very safe answer. That's the only answer you've given in an hour and change that you played safe, homie. The only one that you kind of sidestepped, Jerrod Smith. So I think my boy has got some big-time plans over here because I know you. I will leave it at that. We don't have to. I understand what you're saying. I totally get it. Anthony Hill, in what ways can those who support you help you out along your way for running for Board of Supervisors?
Great question.
Great question.
Thank you for keeping me honest. I've got the website up, so if you want to just drop a note and say keep going or leave your information so that we can contact you once we start canvassing and getting out there, that's great as well. There's also a donate function on the website. We will need to, for the politics side of things.
Yeah, you got to get donations.
I mean, I have to do it. So
how hard is that for you?
I appreciate it. It's weird.
Yeah,
man.
dude.
It's
Asking
hard,
people for money.
It's tough for me. So
Yeah.
it's like it's really one of my I can definitely be stronger at that point, but it's hard for me to ask people for money. You know, I'm used to just going out in the community
and earning it,
and and doing whatever. So but no, please donate if you're capable. If you donate money, that's fine. If you want to donate time, that's fine as well. If you want to donate ideas and sit down, we can have a discussion. I'm open to all kinds of donations.
I love it. You have so many supporters here. Let me shout out some of the supporters, and then I got to let this man go because you got to get back to the grind, right?
Yeah, man.
Okay. Do we have a couple more minutes?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay. You're about to be a board of supervisor. All right. Let me throw this to you here. Laura Henderson, I am so proud of you. Jerrod Smith, great job, Jerrod Smith. Teresa Walker Burton, you have my vote, Jerrod Smith. Awesome. Let's see, Jamila Lee Johnson, yay, Jerrod, go, Jerrod. I am so impressed with you, Jerrod. Laura also handles, I can handle anything with you, Jerrod Smith. I don't know where you go with that one.
No, that's my fiance.
Okay, sorry. Okay, I didn't know that was your fiance.
That's my fiance. I didn't know she was going to say. I didn't know she was going to say that either. Tawan
Walker Smith, I am so proud of you. You're a true leader, Jerrod Smith. Keep moving forward to doing great things. And there's even more. Guys, I can't get to all this because the man has got to get back to work. But thank you for supporting and interacting with the program. We will close with this. That's your camera. I'm going to give you the entire platform. And this is the question I'm going to ask. Why would Jerrod Smith make a good Albemarle County Board of Supervisor? And we're going to turn it into a highlight reel. I'll give you 30 seconds to come up with the answer. I'll thank the sponsors so you can formulate some ideas. This guy crushed it today. Tomorrow is Cena McGill, who's running for Charlottesville City Council. I'm going to introduce you to what she stands for. So that's tomorrow at 12:30. We thank Greenberry's for being a part of the program. We thank Roy Wheeler, a trusted real estate firm, for being a part of the program. Scott Wagner, Chiropractic and Sports Medicine. Intrastate Inc., a home's best friend, a 4-generation strong company. Intrastate Pest and Service Companies. Thank you for being a part of the program. Harris Tolber is our director. Judah Wickower and Lauren Linsky are our producers. And now we close with the Albemarle High School football and athletic standout, the Bucknell graduate, the Frank Batten Institute product, and a man who bleeds Barbersville, Albemarle County, and Central Virginia, Jerrod Smith. Show is yours, sir. This is the question. Sizzle reel this waiting to happen, Harris. Jerrod Smith, why would you make a good Albemarle County Board of Supervisor?
So I would make a great Albemarle County Board of Supervisors because I've seen the ins and outs of the county. I've lived the ins and outs of the county. I've had positive and negative interactions in this county. But at the core, I understand that the people are what make this county go, and the people are what push me to represent their interests. And so I would say that I really am geared toward making government representative and transparent. And I feel like that a kid such as myself that's grown up in this school system and been given opportunities and had the door slammed in his face economically and succeeded economically and academically and things like that. I have that eye to know what it takes to represent both ends of the spectrum because I come from both ends of the spectrum. And so if you want somebody that's going to push the needle forward and not just maintain the standard and try to actually make this area a little bit better than it was previously, then I would vote for me, and that's what I'm going to try to do. And I'm going to give my best at it, whether that's on the economic side or the educational side or the social side. I'm going to give my best to try to move the needle forward and make sure that we can all progress. And so progression is key, is near and dear to my heart because I'm from it. And I'm going to try to progress every day. I'm going to try to progress this county every day. And hopefully we can progress forward in the future.
So good. So good. Sizzle reel, Harris. Dude.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it, brother.
Seriously, dude.
I appreciate it, man.
I appreciate you.
Thanks, man.
The guy, I asked him to come on the show. He was quick. Sure. He said, come on. Not, and I'm not throwing anybody on the bus, but not all of our elected officials or current board of supervisors or current Charlottesville city councilors are willing to come on a forum as open as this and take questions from constituents because it is a vulnerable feeling. And he handled that vulnerability well because he is he's a good person. I mean, when it comes down to it, the dude is a good guy. And I have seen it since he was like 15 years old, now 29, which makes me seem
crazy.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Asita McGill tomorrow. She's going to join us to talk about her campaign, her forum. Rob Bell is going to join us on the show. Rob Bell, one of our delegates, and David Toscano also coming on the program here, the I Love CVille Show. We try to focus on the best of Sharlto, the best of Central Virginia. We try to put a spotlight on things that need to be spotlighted because the worst thing that can happen is having people not know what's going on. I try to inform you of topics that you should be informed upon and then allow you to make an educated decision based on what you learn. Because when you make educated decisions based on what you learn, you're more informed, so those decisions should be more practical. I'm not trying to lead one political side or the other. It's just about putting the knowledge in the ecosystem and allowing you to decipher that knowledge any way you see fit. That's the whole premise of what we're doing here. My name is Jerry Miller. Jerrod Smith killed it. I'm going to see you tomorrow in 23 hours on the I Love CVille Show. I love connecting with you, and we close the program the same way every time. Charlottesville, the golden rule. Please be good to each other. Charlottesville. We'll see you in 23 hours. Thank you for joining us.
Awesome, man.
Dude,
thank you.
You killed it. You killed it. Was
Thanks,
that good?
man. It was good.
Yeah. Okay. Open forum. We try to keep it.
Hey, man, that was cool.
I appreciate you. So this is what you can